Lisa never liked hiking. That was the first red flag. She didn't like dirt. She didn't like sweating. She didn't like walking too much in general. Her version of adventure was trying a new overpriced cafe downtown and complaining about the service. So when she told me, completely out of nowhere, that she was going on a solo hike last Saturday, my brain did a weird little glitch. I was in the kitchen making coffee. She was leaning against the counter, scrolling through her phone like she was waiting for something. Or someone. A hike. I repeated. She nodded, still looking at her screen. Yeah. I need some fresh air. There was something off about the way she said it. Like she was testing the words, checking how they sounded out loud. I studied her face, but she didn't look at me. Since when do you hike? Lisa finally met my eyes and rolled hers. Jesus, it's not that deep. I just want to go. Alone. She made a point of emphasizing that last word. Alone. I let it go. Maybe she really did need some space. Maybe she was just annoyed with me. Things had been tense lately. The usual married life stuff. I didn't think much of it. Until she came back. She walked in the door at sunset, wearing leggings and a tank top that looked too clean for someone who had just spent hours trekking through dirt and rocks. Her hair wasn't even frizzy. She looked refreshed, like she'd just come back from a spa, not a trail. I expected her to flop onto the couch, exhausted, but she was buzzing, almost nervous. She pulled out her phone before I even asked and started showing me photos. Lots of trees, some rocks, a lake, no selfies. That was the second red flag. Lisa loved taking pictures of herself. She couldn't go to the grocery store without snapping a candid shot for her Instagram. But now, after an entire day in nature, not a single picture of her face. I didn't say anything. Not yet. Then I saw it. It was in the third or fourth picture, a shot of the hiking trail with tall pines lining the sides. And there, stretching long in the late afternoon sun, was a shadow. A man's shadow. It wasn't Lisa's. It was taller, broader. He was standing just out of frame, but his outline was clear. I tapped the screen. Who's this? Lisa's whole body stiffened. It was the smallest movement, but I saw it. She yanked the phone back so fast that she nearly dropped it. What? She said. Too quick. Too defensive. This shadow, I said slowly. You said you were alone. Lisa blinked. Then she laughed, shaking her head like I was the biggest idiot in the world. Oh my God. Are you serious? It's probably just a tree or something. A tree. I knew what trees looked like. I also knew what a man standing just out of frame looked like. And I knew what guilt looked like. Lisa was already turning away, pretending to be distracted, pretending this wasn't a big deal. That was her tell. She never lied well. She always tried to run from the lie instead of owning it. My stomach twisted. I could have dropped it. I could have ignored the warning signs, let the doubt settle in the back of my mind, let it rot there. But I didn't. I walked over, took her phone straight from her hand, and before she could stop me, I started swiping through her camera roll. Lisa gasped. What the hell, give that back. But I didn't. She lunged for it, but I turned away, holding the phone out of her reach. I was already scrolling, my brain firing on all cylinders, heart pounding in my chest. Lisa never let me touch her phone. Ever. Not because I was the jealous type, not because I ever had a reason to check it before, but because she hated the idea of me going through her things. And now? Now she was acting like I was holding a live grenade. Are you serious right now? She shrieked, trying to grab my arm. You're being a psycho. Give me my phone. I didn't answer. My eyes were glued to the screen. At first, everything looked normal. Just the same hiking photos she'd already shown me. A few more shots of trees, a river, some rocky steps. But then there. A blurry photo. Just a second of hesitation. I tapped it. It expanded. It was nothing special, just another shot of the trail, but in the bottom corner, a shoe. Not Lisa's. Lisa wore sleek black running shoes, the same ones she'd had for years. This one? A heavy brown hiking boot. A man's boot. A fresh footprint was next to it. She hadn't been alone. Lisa's fingers clawed at my arm, her breath coming fast. You're invading my privacy. Give it back, you're acting crazy. But I wasn't listening. I swiped again. This time, the picture was even worse. It was a reflection. A stupid, careless mistake. She had taken a photo of the lake, probably trying to get the perfect shot of the sunset. But the water was too still, too clear. And in the reflection, a man. Standing right next to her. Tall, broad shoulders. Wearing a gray hoodie. His face barely visible in the ripples. But definitely there. Too close. Way too close. I felt my stomach drop. Like I just stepped off a cliff. Lisa saw it too. I heard her sharp inhale, the way she went completely still. For a second, neither of us moved. Then she snapped. She shoved me hard. Harder than I expected. Caught off guard, I stumbled back, nearly dropping the phone. "What the hell is wrong with you?" she yelled, eyes wild. "You're being paranoid. You're making things up in your head." I held up the phone, shaking with adrenaline. "Lisa, who the hell is this?" She crossed her arms. "No one. No one." I barked out a laugh, disbelieving. "So a random no one just happened to appear in your reflection?" Her jaw clenched. "It's probably another hiker. You said you were alone." She hesitated. "I was." "Then who the F is this?" Her face twisted. She was calculating, trying to figure out which lie to use, which excuse might work. And then she smirked. Smirked. Like she had already won. "You're so insecure," she sneered. "It's pathetic." My blood ran cold. This was new. Lisa had never spoken to me like that before. Never looked at me with disgust. She took a step forward, lowering her voice to a mocking whisper. "Are you mad because some guy might have been on the same trail as me? You think every man on the planet wants me? Or are you just mad because you know I could do better?" I stared at her, my whole body going numb. This wasn't just guilt. This wasn't just her getting caught. This was contempt. She wasn't scared. She wasn't apologizing. She was enjoying this. Like she had been waiting for me to find out. Like she had wanted this fight. And for the first time, I realized something that made my blood turn to ice. Lisa hadn't just cheated. She didn't care that I knew. I stood there, gripping Lisa's phone so tightly my fingers ached. My heart was slamming against my ribs, my breath coming in shallow, uneven bursts. But Lisa? Lisa just smirked. She had the audacity to smirk. The woman I had loved, trusted, and built a life with was standing in front of me, arms crossed, head tilted, looking at me like I was pathetic. Like I was some joke. "You're embarrassing yourself," she scoffed, rolling her eyes. "Embarrassing myself?" I took a slow step toward her, holding up the phone. My hand was shaking. "You said you were alone." My voice came out rough, barely above a whisper. Lisa shrugged. "I was." "Then explain this." I tapped the screen, holding it so close to her face she had to step back. "Explain the reflection. The shadow. The hiking boot that isn't yours." She let out a sharp, breathy laugh, shaking her head like I was some kind of idiot. "Oh my God, do you hear yourself?" She threw her hands up. "It's just another hiker. There were other people on the trail. You're acting like I was in the middle of the Amazon rainforest." "Other people?" I repeated. "You told me, word for word, that you went on a solo hike." She rolled her eyes again. "Yeah, solo as in I didn't go with anyone. That doesn't mean I didn't pass by other hikers." Jesus Christ. It was so smooth, so casual, like I was the one being crazy. For a second, just a second, I almost doubted myself. But then I saw it. That flicker, that micro-expression, barely a twitch, but I saw it. Her eyes darted left for half a second. Her lips pressed together, her fingers flexed at her sides. She was lying. I had never been more sure of anything in my life. I exhaled slowly, forcing my grip on the phone to loosen before I shattered it. "Okay," I said, nodding. "Let's check the metadata." Lisa froze. That smirk finally vanished. I turned the phone so she could see my thumb hovering over the screen. The metadata. The little details behind every photo. The exact time and location where it was taken. Her whole body stiffened. She knew what I was about to do. I watched it happen in real time. The way her breathing quickened. The way her pupils shrank. It was pure panic. She lunged. I was ready this time. I sidestepped her, holding the phone above my head like I was keeping candy away from a toddler. "Give me my phone," she screamed, reaching for it. "Nope." My voice was calm, almost detached. I was past yelling, past pleading. I was done. I tapped the screen. The metadata popped up. And there it was. The photos weren't from today. Not even from this week. They were from a month ago. Lisa had lied about the whole thing. I slowly lowered the phone and turned to look at her. She had gone dead silent. Her breathing was erratic. Her fingers curled into fists. "Lisa," I said, voice deathly calm. "Where were you today?" She said nothing. "Lisa." My voice was sharper now. "Where were you?" Her jaw clenched so tightly I thought she might break a tooth. I took a step closer, lowering my voice to something almost dangerous. "You lied to my face." She flinched. It was small, almost unnoticeable, but I caught it. I shook my head, laughing bitterly. You think staged this whole thing, didn't you? You planned this. I let out a shaky breath, rubbing a hand over my face. You didn't even go hiking. You just found some old photos in your camera roll and fed me some bull story. Lisa still didn't speak. Didn't move. Just stood there. And then finally, she whispered something so quietly I almost didn't hear it. So what? 2 words. 2 tiny, insignificant words. But they hit me harder than anything she could have screamed at me. So what? My ears started ringing. So what? I felt like the ground had just opened beneath me, like I was standing at the edge of something dark and endless, staring down into the abyss. She didn't deny it. She didn't try to explain it away. She admitted it. And she didn't give a damn. Lisa took a slow step forward, tilting her head slightly, looking at me like I was something small. Something weak. What are you gonna do, huh? She murmured almost mockingly. Throw a tantrum? Cry about it? Beg me to tell you the truth? I could only stare at her. I didn't even recognize the woman in front of me. Lisa used to be sweet, playful. She used to kiss me on the cheek every morning before I left for work, text me little inside jokes throughout the day, steal my hoodies when she thought I wasn't looking. I had no idea who this person was. I took a slow, measured breath, forcing my hands to unclench. Then I spoke. I'm going to check your messages. For the first time, real fear flashed in Lisa's eyes. The moment I said it, I'm going to check your messages, Lisa lost it. Her whole body reacted before her brain could catch up. I barely saw it coming. 1 second, she was standing there, eyes wide, lips parted in shock. The next, she lunged at me with everything she had. I wasn't ready. She slammed into me so hard I stumbled back, my shoulder hitting the edge of the counter. The pain barely registered because my focus was still on the phone, her phone. That was her real panic. Not the fight. Not getting caught in a lie. She was terrified of me seeing what was on that screen. I barely managed to keep my grip on it, twisting my body away just as she reached for it again. Her nails scraped against my wrist, desperate. Lisa, stop. My voice was dangerously low, barely controlled. Give it back. She shrieked, clawing at my arm, using her whole body to try to rip the phone from my hand. She wasn't just trying to grab it. She was trying to destroy it. I saw it in her face. The way her teeth clenched, her muscles tensed, she wanted to break it before I could open her messages. That alone told me everything I needed to know. I gritted my teeth, using my height to my advantage, shoving her back with my free hand. You need to calm the hell down. F***ku, she screamed, her face twisting into something almost feral. And then she did the most insane thing yet. She turned and sprinted. Straight for the sink. For the garbage disposal. It took me half a second to understand what she was doing. And in that half a second I was already moving. Lisa grabbed a glass of water off the counter and hurled it at me. I ducked, but it shattered against the cabinets, glass flying everywhere. She used the distraction to bolt toward the sink, her arms reaching forward. I caught her. At the last second, I wrapped an arm around her waist and yanked her back. She let out a strangled noise of pure frustration, thrashing like a wild animal. The phone slipped from my grip. I saw it falling, everything slowed down. Lisa reached for it. I reached for it. And by some miracle, I grabbed it first. I shoved it into my pocket, breathing hard. Lisa whirled on me, her hands shaking. Her chest rose and fell in quick, shallow bursts. For a moment, we just stared at each other. I had never seen her like this. Like she wasn't even a person anymore, just pure panic, pure survival instinct. Then she did something that almost made me laugh. She straightened her shirt, tossed her hair over her shoulder, and put her hands on her hips like nothing had just happened. Like she hadn't just physically attacked me, thrown a glass at my head, and tried to commit phone murder via garbage disposal. Her voice was deadly calm. Give me my phone. I didn't move. I was still breathing too fast, my adrenaline pumping so hard I could hear my pulse in my ears. She took a slow step toward me. You're acting insane. Just give it back, and we'll talk like adults. I let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Like adults? Are you joking? She didn't laugh. She just took another step closer, her expression hardening. You're not going to find anything. I tilted my head. Then why are you trying so hard to stop me? A flicker of something flashed in her eyes. Hatred. For me. I exhaled, forcing myself to think. I had the proof. She had practically gift-wrapped her own guilt and handed it to me with her insane reaction. But I needed to see. I needed to know. Without another word, I pulled the phone from my pocket and started unlocking it. Lisa exploded. She lunged for me again, but this time I was ready. I took a step back, holding up my free hand. Lisa, if you touch me one more time, I swear to God, she stopped. Just like that. She stood there, her whole body trembling, her fists clenched so tightly her knuckles turned white. Then she did the creepiest thing yet. She smiled. Smirked. Like she knew something I didn't. Go ahead, she murmured, tilting her head. Check my messages. A cold chill ran down my spine. Something wasn't right. I hesitated, my thumb hovering over the screen. She saw my hesitation and laughed softly. I mean, you came this far, right? She said, almost mockingly. Might as well finish what you started. I should have known. I should have seen it coming. But I didn't. So I unlocked her phone. And what I saw? It was so much worse than I ever imagined. The moment the phone unlocked, I knew. I knew I was about to see something that would change everything. My heart pounded in my ears as I tapped her messages. Lisa was still standing there, watching me. Studying me. Like I was some lab rat about to get electrocuted. I scrolled down. At first, everything looked normal. Conversations with coworkers, her sister, her mom. Group chats filled with pointless memes and dinner plans. It was all surface level, carefully curated. Then I noticed it. A name I didn't recognize. It wasn't saved as anything obvious, no heart emojis, no babe or love or anything stupidly obvious. Just Adam. I almost snorted. The laziness. Lisa must have seen my face because she let out a soft, almost pitying chuckle. Oh, you think you found something, huh? She mused, crossing her arms. God, you're predictable. I ignored her. My fingers felt numb as I tapped the chat. And then the air left my lungs. The first thing I saw wasn't a message. It was a photo of Lisa, in a hotel room. She wasn't naked, but she might as well have been. She was standing in front of a mirror, wearing an oversized hoodie. Not mine. The sleeves were too long, covering her hands, and I could see his reflection behind her. Just a silhouette. Tall, broad-shouldered man. My vision tunneled. I started scrolling. More pictures. Selfies. Lisa on a bed, laughing. A dinner table with 2 plates, wine glasses clinking. A blurry shot of her feet tangled with someone else's under a blanket. It wasn't even hidden. Lisa hadn't just been reckless. She had been bold. My stomach twisted. I forced myself to stop looking at the pictures, my thumb moving faster than my brain as I scrolled through the messages. And then I saw it. Lisa, I wish I could stay longer. Adam. So why don't you? Lisa, you know why? Adam. Because of him? Lisa, yeah. Adam, do you even love him? Lisa, id. I froze. IDK. 3 tiny letters, but they might as well have been a gunshot to the chest. Lisa didn't even bother lying. I felt something inside me crack, something deep, something that had been holding me together this whole time. I could handle anger, rage, even betrayal. But this indifference? Lisa had already moved on. Mentally, emotionally, physically. I was nothing more than a problem she hadn't gotten around to solving yet. I finally looked up at her. She was still watching me, arms crossed, weight shifted to one hip. Like this was some mild inconvenience. She raised an eyebrow. You done? The casualness in her voice sent a fresh wave of fury through me. IDK? My voice was quiet. Too quiet. She didn't blink. What? I turned the phone so she could see the screen, my hands shaking. You told him you don't know if you love me. Lisa barely reacted. She just sighed like I was exhausting her. Oh my God, she groaned, rubbing her temples. Are we seriously doing this? You're acting like some dramatic teenage girl. I slammed the phone down on the counter so hard it bounced. Lisa jumped. Are you serious right now? My voice came out louder than I intended, my vision going red at the edges. You lied to my face. You staged that whole ing hiking trip. And now you're standing here acting like I'm the problem? Lisa blinked at me, her expression flat. No, I'm acting like an adult, she said slowly, like she was explaining something to a child. You're the one throwing a tantrum. Something inside me snapped. I let out a sharp, humorless laugh. A tantrum? Oh, I'm sorry. Should I just quietly accept that my wife's been sneaking off to hotels with some guy and texting him IDK when he asks if she loves me? Lisa exhaled sharply, rolling her eyes. I didn't sneak off. It's not like I lied about where I was. I let out a sharp bark of laughter. Are you insane? You literally pretended to go on a solo hike. She actually had the nerve to shrug. I just needed space. I stared at her, disbelief choking me. Space? She gave me a long, measured look. Then, finally, she tilted her head and sighed. You want to know the truth? She asked softly. My jaw clenched. Go ahead. Enlighten me. She met my eyes. I stopped loving you a long time ago. Silence. The kind that sucks all the oxygen from the room. The kind that makes your ears ring. I didn't even blink. Didn't move. Lisa just watched me, her gaze unwavering. No regret. No sadness. Just brutal honesty. I tried, she continued, voice smooth and controlled. I really did. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized. I don't want this anymore. I don't want you. I couldn't breathe. Not because she was leaving me. Not even because she had cheated. But because she had been gone for so long. And I had been too blind to see it. Lisa sighed again as if she had just finished a difficult task. She grabbed her phone off the counter, glanced at the cracked screen, then looked back at me. I'm gonna pack a bag, she said, voice eerily calm. I'll stay at a friend's place tonight. Then she turned and walked away. Just like that. Like I was nothing. Like our entire marriage had been nothing more than an inconvenience she was finally shaking off. And I just stood there, watching my wife walk out of the room. Out of my life. Like I never even mattered. I stood there, staring at the empty hallway where Lisa had just disappeared. The silence was so thick it felt like a living thing, wrapping itself around my throat, pressing into my chest. She was gone. Just like that. No tears. No begging. No hesitation. She had walked away from me like I was a bad deal she was finally getting out of. Like I was some contract she had been waiting to cancel. And the worst part? I let her. I could hear her in the bedroom now. Drawers opening. The dull thud of a suitcase hitting the floor. She wasn't even rushing. She was calm. She had planned for this. I ran a hand over my face, still trying to process what had just happened. My pulse was roaring in my ears, my breath coming fast and shallow, like I had just sprinted a mile. But Lisa was packing like she was going on vacation. I forced myself to move, my legs feeling like lead as I walked toward the bedroom. My hand hovered over the doorframe for a second before I stepped inside. Lisa didn't even acknowledge me. She was standing by the closet, tossing clothes into a suitcase without a care in the world. Pair of jeans, a few tops, her favorite leather jacket. Nothing sentimental, nothing that suggested she planned to come back. I clenched my fists. That's it. Lisa barely glanced at me. What? That's all you have to say? My voice was too loud, but I didn't care. You just drop a bomb like that and start packing like this is some casual weekend trip? Lisa sighed like I was annoying her. What do you want me to do, huh? Cry? Beg you to forgive me? She let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Would that make you feel better? I just stared at her. Because the truth was? Yeah, maybe it would. Maybe if she showed even the tiniest bit of regret, of pain, then I wouldn't feel like such a complete idiot. Like I had spent years loving a woman who had been checked out for God knows how long. But she didn't give me that. She zipped up the suitcase, pulled it off the bed, and turned to face me. Arms crossed. Completely unaffected. I told you the truth, she said flatly. I didn't have to. I could have kept lying, kept sneaking around, but I didn't. So, congratulations, you got your closure. Closure. The word made my skin crawl. This wasn't closure. This was abandonment. This was her ripping out the foundation of our marriage and walking away like it was just some collapsed building in the distance. I let out a breath, my hands trembling at my sides. Was it him? My voice was quieter now. Almost hollow. Lisa blinked. What? Adam. The name burned my tongue. Is he the reason you're doing this? She hesitated. Barely. Then she shrugged. Adam made me realize what I was missing. That was all she said. No apology. No regret. Just a simple statement, like she was talking about a new restaurant she tried and liked better than the one we always went to. I exhaled sharply, laughing bitterly. Wow. Lisa tilted her head, examining me. Are you gonna be dramatic about this forever? I snapped. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. But I did something that finally wiped the arrogance off her face. I pulled out my phone. Lisa's eyes narrowed. What are you doing? I didn't answer. My fingers moved on instinct, pure cold fury fueling me now. She stepped forward. Seriously, what are you? Then she heard it. The dial tone. Her face went pale. Are you calling Adam? She demanded, her voice suddenly sharp. I met her eyes. And for the first time that night, I smiled. No, I said. I'm calling his wife. Lisa's lips parted. Shock. Fear. Pure, undiluted panic. She lunged for the phone. Are you insane? Stop. But I was faster. I dodged her, stepping back, holding the phone to my ear as it rang. Lisa's hands flew to her hair, her breath shaky now. Oh my God, don't do this, she whispered. Please. Just hang up. I had never heard her beg before. Not once. And suddenly I understood. Lisa didn't feel bad about cheating. She didn't feel bad about me. But she was terrified of Adam's wife finding out. I gritted my teeth, feeling something dark and satisfied curl inside me. Good. The ringing stopped. A voice came through the line. Hello? Lisa's hand flew to her mouth. Horrified. And I smiled even wider. Hey, I said smoothly. You don't know me, but I think we need to talk. The silence that followed was deafening. Lisa was frozen. Her hands clenched into tight fists. her breathing shaky but completely silent. Her entire body was rigid, like a statue, like she was hoping if she didn't move, didn't breathe, maybe this wouldn't be happening. But it was. And I wasn't stopping. Hello? The woman on the other end of the line sounded cautious, confused. I cleared my throat, forcing my voice to stay steady. Is this Adam's wife? Lisa flinched so hard it looked like I had slapped her. The woman hesitated. Who is this? I watched Lisa as I spoke. My name is Ryan, and I think your husband has been sleeping with my wife. Lisa let out a choked sound, her hand flying to her mouth like she had just witnessed a murder. Her murder. The woman on the phone went silent. The kind of silence that tells you someone is realizing their entire life is about to change. I could hear her breathing. Uneven, sharp inhales, processing. Then finally a single word. What? Lisa snapped. She lunged at me, eyes wild, fingers grasping for my phone. You son of a b! I turned away, dodging her. Get off me, I growled. Lisa wasn't playing anymore. She was fighting. She was clawing at my arms, trying to rip the phone away, her breath coming in panicked gasps. She had never acted like this before. Never screamed like this. Never fought like this. But this? This wasn't about me. This was about him. She wasn't scared of losing me. She was scared of losing him. That realization settled deep in my chest, cold and sharp as a knife. Lisa grabbed my wrist with both hands, digging her nails in. Hang up the phone, Ryan. I shoved her off me hard enough to make her stumble. Don't touch me. She staggered back, her face a mix of rage and panic. You're gonna ruin everything. The sheer audacity of that statement nearly made me laugh. I'm going to ruin everything? The woman on the phone was breathing hard now. Who is your wife? I exhaled, steadying myself. My hand was shaking. Lisa Carter. The line went silent. Lisa's face drained of color. And then the woman laughed. Not a normal laugh. A bitter, humorless, exhausted sound. The kind of laugh that comes when someone has just gotten confirmation of something they already knew deep down. Of course, she murmured. Lisa let out a sharp, panicked gasp. Oh my God. She turned away, hands in her hair, pacing. This isn't happening. This isn't happening. I ignored her. So you know who she is? A deep sigh. Yeah, I know exactly who she is. My stomach twisted. Because that meant Adam had talked about Lisa. Lisa wasn't just some random side chick. She was a known name. Lisa whipped around, her eyes wide, frantic. Ryan, please. I had never heard her voice like that before. Not demanding. Not mocking. Begging. Not because she cared about me. Because she knew what was coming. The woman on the phone inhaled sharply, her voice dropping to something quiet. Dangerous. How long? I swallowed, my throat suddenly dry. At least a few months. Probably longer. Another silence. Then ing knew it. Lisa let out a whimper. An actual, genuine whimper. Please, she whispered, stepping toward me. Ryan, I stepped back. Lisa stopped mid-sentence, eyes filling with something like horror. She knew. She knew there was nothing she could say now. The woman on the phone let out a shaky breath. Thank you for telling me. Lisa made a broken sound. No. No, I just nodded, my grip on the phone tightening. You deserve to know. The woman exhaled again. And so do you. That made me pause. Lisa froze. And then the woman on the phone laughed again. Softer this time. Colder. Ryan, she murmured. You're not the only one he's been sleeping with. Lisa made a strangled noise. What? My pulse stopped. The woman let out a long, slow breath. Yeah. A pause. Then with icy clarity, your wife isn't the only one. Lisa's eyes went huge. I felt like the floor had just dropped out from under me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then Lisa's lips parted. That's not true. It sounded more like she was trying to convince herself. But the woman on the phone? She scoffed. Oh, sweetie. Lisa's face crumpled. I had never seen her like this before. Because in that moment, she wasn't the one holding the power anymore. She was the fool. Just like me, Lisa stood there, staring at me like I had just stabbed her. Or maybe she wasn't staring at me. Maybe she was staring past me at the truth that had just hit her like a freight train. She wasn't special. She wasn't Adam's one and only. She was just one of many. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Her hands were still shaking, her body locked in place like she physically couldn't move. I could see it, the realization sinking in. All that arrogance, all the confidence she had just minutes ago? Gone. Yeah? Now she looked small. Like a fool. The woman on the phone let out another humorless laugh. What, you thought you were the only one? Lisa flinched. Hard. I almost felt bad. But then I remembered every smug smirk. Every lie. The way she had looked at me with disgust. Like I was an idiot for even questioning her. Like I was beneath her. And now she was the idiot. Lisa took a shaky step back, her voice barely above a whisper. "You're lying." The woman on the phone snorted. "Oh, honey, I wish I was." Lisa shook her head. No, he wouldn't do that." I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. The irony. The sheer, unbelievable audacity. "You hear yourself right now?" I asked, still chuckling bitterly. "You just spent God knows how long lying to my face, sneaking around behind my back. And now you're shocked that Adam was doing the same to you?" Lisa's eyes snapped to me. Wild. Desperate. "This is different." That nearly made me double over. "Different," I repeated, shaking my head. "How?" Lisa's jaw clenched, her breath coming fast and shallow. Because she stopped. Because there was no because. There was no difference. She was just like me now. Used. Lied to. Played. The woman on the phone sighed. "Look, I don't know what kind of fairy tale he sold you, but I've known about the other women for a while now." Lisa's face crumpled. "Women," she whispered. "Not woman. Women." The woman on the phone hummed. "Oh yeah. You're not even the latest one, to be honest." Lisa's breath hitched. I watched her crumble in real time. The way her shoulders slumped. The way her face drained of all color. The way her eyes God, her eyes filled with something I had never seen in them before. Pure, absolute humiliation. Lisa wavered. Like she had just been hit in the stomach and was trying to stay upright. It was actually pathetic. She had thrown away everything for this man. For some guy who didn't even care about her. And now? Now she was just another name on his list. The woman on the phone exhaled sharply. "So, now that we both know what kind of men and women we married," a pause. Then, a voice like steel. "What are you gonna do about it?" I turned my head slightly, still watching Lisa. "Divorce." Lisa's eyes snapped to mine. Terrified. Like she had just realized that this wasn't just an argument. This wasn't just a bad fight. This was the end. And for the first time, I saw it. Regret. It was small, barely there, but I saw it in the way she swallowed hard. The way her fingers twitched. The way she opened her mouth, then quickly shut it. The woman hummed. "Good." Lisa suddenly took a step forward. "Wait." Her voice cracked. I didn't move. She took another step, her hands shaking. "Ryan, wait," but I was already walking away. Because I was done. Lisa's voice broke behind me. "Ryan, please." I didn't stop. I walked out of the bedroom, my steps slow and deliberate, my hands still shaking with adrenaline. Lisa scrambled after me, nearly tripping over herself in her panic. The panic of someone who finally realizes they lost. "Ryan, just talk to me," she pleaded, her breath coming in short, panicked bursts. "We don't have to do this." I let out a bitter laugh as I reached the kitchen, running a hand over my face. My entire body felt exhausted. She really thought she still had control. Like she could just snap her fingers, say the right words, and undo everything. Lisa took another step toward me, her voice dropping into something soft. Apologetic. I just need to explain." I turned to face her. "Explain what, exactly?" She hesitated. And there it was. That flicker of hesitation. The calculation. The way she was trying to find an explanation that would make this less bad. Less of a complete disaster. I tilted my head. "Are you about to lie to me again?" Lisa flinched like I had slapped her. I laughed bitterly. "Because, Lisa, I think we both know the truth by now, don't we?" Her eyes darted away. "Ryan, you didn't accidentally fall into someone else's bed. You didn't just drift into cheating. You made a choice." My voice dropped. Over and over and over. She swallowed, her breathing uneven. And the worst part? I took a step forward, lowering my voice. "It wasn't even worth it." Lisa's face crumpled. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. "You threw everything away for a guy who had other women." I let out a sharp breath, shaking my head. "Jesus, Lisa, you weren't even his first choice." She actually winced, like the words had physically hurt. And maybe they did. Because Lisa had always prided herself on being the smartest person in the room. The most desired. The one with the upper hand. But now she was just another fool. Another woman on Adam's long, pathetic list. Her lips parted. I cut in. "Just don't." She closed her mouth. And for the first time, I saw real fear in her eyes. Because she knew. This wasn't an argument. This wasn't a rough patch. This was the end. Lisa licked her lips, her voice barely above a whisper. "Ryan, but I was already reaching for my phone." She stiffened. What are you doing? I didn't answer. I just scrolled, my pulse calm now. Steady. And then I pressed call. Lisa's face drained of color. The phone rang. Once. Twice. Then hello. Lisa's hands flew to her mouth. Hey Mark, I said, my voice almost relaxed. I need a lawyer. Lisa's knees buckled. Lisa's knees almost gave out. She had to grab the counter to keep from falling. Her entire body shut down. I watched it happen the exact moment reality hit her. She wasn't in control anymore. She wasn't going to wiggle out of this. She wasn't going to spin some half-assed lie and smooth things over. Because I wasn't the same man I had been 10 minutes ago. I was done. Lisa let out a shaky breath. Ryan, I held up a hand, my phone still pressed to my ear. Shut up. Her mouth snapped shut. Mark's voice came through the line. Ryan? What's going on? I exhaled, my grip tightening on the phone. I need a divorce lawyer. Now. Lisa gasped. It wasn't dramatic or performative. It was real. Because this was real. I had said it out loud. Divorce. A word that couldn't be undone. I could see it all over her face, the regret, the panic, the sheer disbelief. Because Lisa thought she had time. She thought she could control how this ended. That I would fight for her, that I would yell, cry, demand answers, anything but this. But I had already made up my mind. Mark's voice was sharp. Jesus. What happened? I let out a bitter laugh. Found out my wife has been sneaking off to hotels with another guy. Lisa flinched. Mark went silent. Then, I'll call you back in 5. I'll get everything started. I nodded even though he couldn't see me. Appreciate it. I hung up. And for a long, stretched out moment, Lisa and I just stared at each other. Her hands were trembling against the counter. Her breathing uneven. Her entire body locked in place like she was trapped in a nightmare. She had nothing to say. Nothing that would matter anyway. I exhaled, shaking my head. This is it, Lisa. You don't come back from this. She swallowed hard. Ryan, I held up a hand. No, she shut up immediately. I ran a hand through my hair. My jaw clenched so tight it hurt. You did this. Not me. Lisa's bottom lip trembled. Her eyes were wide, red-rimmed. I didn't mean. I barked out a laugh. Yes, you did. You meant all of it. She whispered something, barely audible. I just didn't think. She didn't finish the sentence. Because we both knew what she meant. She didn't think I'd leave. She thought I'd stay. Because that's what people like her expect. They expect you to forgive, to fight, to be so blinded by love that you'll swallow the betrayal just to keep them. But I wasn't that man. Not anymore. I let out a slow, measured breath. I want you out. Tonight. Lisa's breath hitched. Ryan, please. Her voice was small now. I have nowhere to not. My problem. She looked gutted. Like she couldn't believe I was really doing this. I grabbed my keys off the counter, my hands steady now, my mind clear. Lisa's voice cracked. Where are you going? I met her eyes. Anywhere you're not. Then I walked out the door. And for the first time in a long time, I felt free.